Hello. I have a question for you, okay? Okay. Well, first of all, it's me, Gabrielle again, and I want to know something. Have you been through a lot of hurt and a lot of pain in your life? Have a lot of people betrayed you and lied to you, stole from you? Have they torn you down? Betrayed your trust, befriended you, set you up, manipulated you, deceitful, gossiped about you in a bad way, uh, you know, don't have integrity, have things been taken from you, even as a childhood? Well, if so, which I know they have, because if you're down on this earth, you've been through either all or some of those things, or for some, the majority of those things. And I'm here to tell you that guess what? I've been through the same thing, and to this day, I still go through a lot of those things. And the only difference is now, because of my mindset and because of my willing heart to get help from God, and spiritual leaders, that I'm set free from all of that stuff. I can take the blows now. I don't take it personal. My heart is not on my sleeves. My emotions are not on my sleeve. They're in my back pocket as well. And so are my opinions. So with that being said, I wanted to encourage you and let you know one of my testimonies, maybe a couple. Okay. Okay. So I'm going to get brutal and deep with you, whoever you are watching me. I don't mind sharing with you and opening up my heart to you, because I desire for you to be set free. Again, that's my desire. I desire for your mind to be free and unraveled and come out of entanglement with incidents that happened to you even as a child that you couldn't control and had no power over, that now that because you're an adult, you're weak in that area. And that's an open wound for you, and people just keep stabbing at it, and then the enemy is stabbing at it. Things are tormenting you in your mind. Your ways are not even right, and you don't even know how to function because of all this stuff that happened. And now it's done grew on you, and you think it's okay, or you become comfortable with it, or you think that's who you are when it's clearly not. So I'm going to share with you some of my testimonies right now, and I'm going to go deep, okay? All right, first one is when I was a little girl. I think I was about like 7 or 8. I was molested multiple times by men and women. One of the things I do remember happening was my mom would be working 2 jobs. She worked a lot and would go out and party a lot, and she would leave me with different people, men and women. They both did this to me. And I'll never forget it. This woman, everything happened at nighttime for me, around 12 o'clock at nighttime. And I just want to give you some knowledge that from 12 to 6 is the witching hours, when a lot of demonic things take happening during that time, okay? That's why it's imperative that you be in the right place, doing the right things so you can be covered and connected to the right people in church as well, so they can be covering you. That's what we're here for. Every church is not about money. Okay, all right, and everybody's not religious. Some of us are in relationship and kingdom minded, like myself. So with that being said, this woman, I never forget her. These women, this one woman I mainly remember, she would perform oral sex on me as a little girl. But first, she would make me perform oral sex on her and lick on her downstairs. And I'll never forget it because she was so hairy downstairs that I would taste her pubic hair in my mouth and I would be spitting it out. And she would have me go back down it again, putting her hand on my head and had me down there licking on her stuff as a little girl. And she would do it to me next. And it was so perverted that it just caused a lust spirit to enter into my life. I was very promiscuous as a teenager. I lost my virginity at 16 years old. I was a fast little hot tail little thing. I was curious about boys. It's just opened up the door for so much stuff. Then there was a man. There were men who would have me doing oral sex on them. They would have me actually going down on them, doing oral sex as a little girl now, And then, they would ejaculate on me as well. It gets deep. It gets real. They would do it on me, and when my mom came to get me that next morning, they would dress me up like nothing happened. And my brain, that part of my brain literally went into shock to where I couldn't even think or function. I panicked. So even if I wanted to tell my mother, I couldn't. I just had this feeling of fear, and I was intimidated by these people as a little girl. I was in so much fear that that's how another reason how I had gained a nervous spirit because of what they did to me. It literally caused me to go silent and numb as a little girl. That when I grew up in school, I was a shy, insecure girl. I was always quiet to myself and curious about boys. And then as I got older in my early 20s, I got tested with bisexuals, dealing with women as well. I started lusting out the women, and I had to get help in church because I let my leaders know what was bothering me and how I was having these feelings for women too. And women was trying to come at me and get at me and stuff. And I knew that wasn't of God because I'm not into same sex. And I know that's an abomination and it's strange and perverted and unnatural. And God is not pleased with that. He hates sin, period. No sin is worse than the other. They're all bad. He hates it all. And I wanted to please God. I was just coming back to God and getting tested and tried by this stuff because of what happened to me as a little girl. And it did affect me a lot. I'm going to be honest with you. Me being molested by those grown-ups caused me as a teenager to want to also do the same, like not the same things, but also have perverted thoughts with little kids when I was babysitting, excuse me. It got to the point where when I went to babysit this lady's little sons, I started having perverted thoughts about the little boys, and I had to literally stop watching her children. I let her know I just couldn't do it no more. I didn't want to watch the children. I didn't tell her why, but I knew something was wrong with me as a teenager because when I got molested by these men and women, I went numb into a state of shock. And when I became a teenager, these perverted feelings and these lusts, perverted feelings for kids and stuff, started coming in my spirit and in my heart, and I was like, this is not right. I could feel it was wrong. And it was like something was controlling me, driving me to do it. And I didn't want to do it. Me personally, my heart as a teenager knew it was wrong and didn't want to do it. But this spirit, I could feel it. It was so strong, full of lust. It was just pushing me and driving me, to want to do it. And I really wanted help because I didn't know how to overcome this. I didn't even know where it came from. I just knew that it had to come from somewhere and I needed help spiritually. Wasn't nobody naturally that could help me with the situation because it was a spirit. It was more than one spirit, and they were strong on me, and it came from me being molested, because as a child, what can I do to these grown-ups doing this to me? Nothing, and even though I wanted to speak out to my mother, I couldn't. My brain shut down. So with that being said, that costed me a lot in my life as a little girl because that treasure was robbed from me as a little girl. And as I got older and came back into church and stuff, because I was born literally into church. I've been in church born into it. And when I decided to come back to God, because at one time I did backslide and I was in sin real bad, like real heavy. So when I did decide to come back to God, and I let my leaders know, the leaders that I felt safe with, and I seen that they bore fruit, that they had God for real and were kingdom minded. I felt safe with them and let them know, what was bothering me because I started feeling those same feelings again. And I had a problem with men and women. I really did. And I had that same feeling like when I was a little girl. It really bothered me. And that's when I got deliverance. And that's when God showed my leader that I had been molested. They didn't even know I had been molested till God showed it to them. And by then, I was about 26 years old. My mom didn't find out and it wasn't revealed to her till I was 28. And when she found out, it wasn't for me because I still couldn't tell her because I know it would break my mom's heart to know that her child, her daughter, one of her oldest children, who's her good girls, was molested. And when she found out about it from an apostle in the church I used to be in, it broke her down. It broke her heart. And she asked me why I couldn't tell her, and I told her I couldn't even open my mouth to tell you because that part of my brain was just shut down. Wasn't nothing I could do, and she wondered. She said she used to wonder why I was always so quiet. I was just to myself, I was just a different little girl. I never was like one of them bad little rascal kids or nothing like that, but I was just so quiet and to myself, and that's why I'm very adamant about parents and adults paying attention to children because those are some symptoms you need to look at with children. If they're very quiet, or pay attention to when people come around them, how do they react to certain people coming around them? Because kids discern people's spirits. And you need to pay attention to children's spirits and their aura, how they change up depending on the person that's coming around them. Please pay attention to that because that's signs and they're telling you something without opening their mouth. Their actions are telling you something, okay? And what was so crazy When I was a little girl, the enemy didn't stop there. As I got older, my brother, his side of his family, because we all have different fathers, his side of his family, one of his uncles were very perverted, with a perverted spirit. He tried to molest me too, but thank God blocked that, I was about 12 years old, I think, or 13, and I had on all black. I never forget it. It was some spandex, and I was a little girl laying down on the floor on some covers, and I started dreaming, and I felt something rubbing up my leg, and just so happened I snapped out of my sleep, and when I woke up, it was his uncle trying to get between my crotch with his hand. And I looked at him crazy, like, what are you doing? And he looked at me like, oh, she caught me, And he had the nerves to try to tell me, have me start stretching. And I mean, he just had me start stretching, and he goes and talks to me about his wife and the problems that they go through, and telling me stories about how they make up names instead of name calling each other. Instead of them saying the MF word, they say mother fudge cake. I was like, I am only 12 years old, but I was a little woman even then. I had to be, because I raised my brothers and sisters most of the time. I played mother. I was a mother and a little woman as a little girl. I didn't have a childhood or a teenager life really, So he's talking to me about this stuff under the covers now with a tent. They'll set up the covers like a tent. He's a grown man in his mid-40s. And he has a history of molestation. He done molested other little nieces he has and caused one of them to get pregnant. And I was like, they haven't put him in jail behind bars so he can reap what he sowed? So he can be ripped another booty hole, This is crazy. So thank God that didn't happen either. And then my brother's other uncle, Jesus, I was like, wow, is this ever going to stop, He tried to molest me too. He told me he was on drugs so bad. He told me to meet him on the corner, and he wanted to tell me something. And I felt the same aura, the same spirit, and it frightened me. And I was only 12 years old then, and it frightened me so bad, had me shaking, and I knew that he wanted to molest me. I knew it because I felt that same spirit, that same aura come over me again, and it wasn't a good feeling. And for me being molested prior to that years ago as a little girl around 7 or 8 years old, I knew that he was going to try to molest me. And when I came out the door to leave after he had left, something told me, look to my right to the corner, and by God, who was standing down the corner waiting on me like a little demon seed, perverted, ready to molest me if I would have came down there, was my brother's uncle. I'll never forget it. His, I think his name was Tyrone, and the other one, I forgot his name. I don't even care to remember neither one of their names. But I'll never forget the look he had on his face. It was not normal. It was not even human. It was straight demonic. And he was ready to, that spirit was driving him, and he was ready to do some damage. And I didn't even go there. I ran the other way, and I never forget. I never turned back and looked back. And I was panicking so bad. I never told anyone about it and stuff like that. And I ran on off. So I want to share that with you to let you know you're not alone. That's one of my testimonies. But that's not even a tip of the iceberg. That's not even 5% of my life stories or my testimonies. That's like a -1 starting off. So I have a long way to go with to tell you all of my testimonies. But what I'm going to do for you, because I desire that you be set free, and I want you to know that, hey, if you've been molested, I have been too. And I want to encourage you that since God healed me and delivered me, and he restored back to me all that treasure that was stolen from me and robbed from me as a little girl, I have it back now. I can love men again. I forgive those who did molest me, because clearly they were possessed as well and needed deliverance too. I chose to forgive them because I'm a very loving person, and I know that pleases God for me to forgive others. Was it easy? No. But as I got older, time healed wounds, but God healed it right away. As I got older, I wanted to be delivered from that stuff so that I wouldn't do it to other children, because that can happen. Usually when you find people that's been molested, people before them did the same thing to other people. It's like a domino effect, It's like a domino effect, generational stuff. And, it's spirits. People need deliverance. Yes, I agree. It is sick and demented, and it's psychotic, and it's gross, and it's sad, and it's tragic when it happened to children. But if God allowed me to make it through it, he definitely has a purpose and plan for my life, and this is part of my ministry. That's what I believe by faith. I don't just believe it, I know it. Because now I can help people who've been molested, even if they've been molested in other kind of ways that's more extreme than what happened to me. I can feel them. I can feel their heart, and at least I can have an understanding a little bit concerning them because I've been there. I know how that feels to be forced to do something and to be robbed of something as a child when you didn't deserve that. It wasn't your fault. So stop blaming yourself or thinking maybe you deserve it. No one deserves to be raped or robbed of who they are. No. Okay? If this caused you to be same-sex or bisexual, I understand you. But now as an adult, you have to make up your mind to ask God to help you and teach you how to let go, teach you how to forgive because it hurts so bad you don't know how. Okay? If you're willing, I'm willing with you. Okay? I know how it is sometimes when something hurts you so bad to where you don't even know if you can forgive. You don't know how, and you might not even want to. But it's for your healing, for you to want to and do get deliverance so you can forgive yourself, stop blaming yourself, forgive others who you think was the cause of it, who might not have been. But forgive everyone, even the ones who raped and molested you and beat you and abused you. I've been there. Even with my own mother with abuse. I've been there. And it's not a good feeling. It's not at all. It's not a good feeling. But if God has allowed you to make it through it, and you are an adult now, or you're a grandparent, or you just coming into your adulthood, 21 years old, if God allows you, you have to believe me on this because I'm a living witness and I'm a testimony. With all that I have been through, even in this one area I'm sharing with you is my testimony, so that you can be an overcomer now, if you're willing to, and if you believe by faith that God will do it. Because is anything too hard for God? No, it is not. And I'm a living proof and witness of that. I'm standing here today, coming into the new year, telling you God will do it. And that's what Jesus came for you, so you can be healed. The question is, will you be healed? Do you want to be, and will you let him heal you? Okay? Will you be willing to let go and forgive everyone, including yourself? It was not your fault. Okay? Again, it was not your fault. No condemnation. Do not condemn yourself because that's satanic. That's not God at all. God forgives and let go. He restores and he heals and he ministers to our hearts. He gives us back double for our trouble. Okay? He does the miracles. He does the healing. Okay? He does the mending of the heart. With that being said, I want to encourage you. God has a plan and purpose for your life. You're still here. Even if you had children out of this from being raped and molested, which is a painful thing. Yes. I pray for your strength in that area, and I believe God is giving you grace to get through this, that you will not look at your children in disgust or hate them or want to commit even murderous acts towards them, because it's not their fault either. They were meant to be here. Regardless of how they got here, they were meant to be here. They are still a blessing. No child is a cursing. So I just encourage you to please don't do any harm to the children. Don't treat them any different because they came in a different way. Please just love on them. Do your best to ask God to help you to love on them and to not treat them any different because of how they got there. And my prayer for you is that you be healed and set free. I know God is doing it. I know God is doing it. Even if you're still having a hard time believing, I choose to believe for you and with you that God is healing you. He is. He's healing you and your children from any abuse you may have already done to them out of unconsciously doing it because you're hurting and you're bleeding. Your wound is open still. But I believe that God is going to seal up your wound with love. He's going to deliver you from condemnation, from all these tormenting spirits, from all these negative thoughts, these pessimist thoughts. He's going to deliver you and set you free because the scripture says whom the Son sets free is free indeed. So when God sets you free, as he's setting you and your children free, stay free. Be encouraged. Keep your faith. Believe me, you have a ministry in this. That's why you went through that and God allowed you to make it. Because if Jesus was a sacrifice for you and your children and me, guess what? We have to be a sacrifice too. Whether we know it or not, everybody has to sacrifice. Okay? I do love you with the love of Christ again. I share this video with you. I'm opening myself up as a testimony because this is going to deliver you. This is going to deliver you. No matter what the enemy tell you, you're set free. You're not a nasty person. You're not a dirty person. You're not no good because of what happened to you, and it's not your fault again. God is healing you and restoring you, and you're getting double for your trouble. All right? I love you with the love of Christ. Again, my name is Gabrielle, and I'm just a messenger who's willing to motivate you and build you up and see you turn around for the better and move forward with your life, letting go of your past so you can have something to present to your future. Okay? Because other people need to hear your testimony, and I would love to hear your testimony of how God is setting you free and how your mind is also being set free along with your heart. I love you much. Talk to you later. Gabrielle.